From the Newstalk ZB newsroom, this is Newsfix.
In this update, the US has launched airstrikes on 85 targets in Syria and Iraq in retaliation for last week's drone attack on a base in Jordan. President Joe Biden is pointing the finger at Iranian-backed militia groups, despite Iran denying involvement in the attack. Iraq's government has reported at least 16 people have now been killed by US strikes. Waikato University law professor Alexander Gillespie says Biden needed a response to demonstrate the US's force and power.
But at the same time, he had to make sure he doesn't trigger a war with Iran. And to do that, he's had to draw a very careful line to make sure that only the proxies are hit, not the actual country.
The tension in the air at Tangi is palpable as people wait to see how the government and iwi leaders will mix. Opposition MPs were welcomed yesterday and Labour did not hold back, suggesting the government was a den of lions and advocating for Māori rights in speeches. The government will be welcomed to Waitangi on Tuesday, with thousands of visitors expected. Herald political reporter Adam Pearce is there and says the next few days will bring some interesting scenes.
And we'll see and hear, I can imagine, some pretty strong whaikoret or some strong speeches from Ngāpuhi leaders here about where the government's taking Māori issues.
Kiwi farmers are reaching out for help more than ever before. Rural support trusts across the country saw a 53% increase in call numbers last year. Areas hit the hardest by extreme weather events such as Cyclone Gabrielle had a record number of calls, and even more cases came through email and social media channels. National Chairman Neil Bateup says they're anticipating calls to remain high this year.
Particularly down the east coast and some in Northland, it could be a 2, 3, 4, 5 year process to try and get themselves back up and running.
That's news. In sport, an early loss for the Black Caps on day one of the first cricket test against South Africa in Mount Maunganui. New Zealand opener Devon Conway has been dismissed for one in just the second over of play. After 8 overs, the Black Caps were 27 for 1, having lost the toss and being sent in to bat. The Scotland rugby side have fought off an almighty Welsh comeback to hold on in a wild match and clinch their first win in Cardiff in 22 years. Dominating the game and leading 27-0 early on in the second half, the visiting Scots have held on for a 27-26 victory. Captain Finn Russell sums up his mixed emotions on Sky Sport.
I mean, the win's brilliant, but I think that second half, it was nowhere near where it needed to be. First half we played really well, we controlled the game, and second half discipline was poor, 2 yellow cards, and that allowed Wales back into the game. So as happy as we are to win, I think that's not performance that we need, especially that second half.
A heavy fall for star Kiwi track cyclist Elise Andrews at the Nations Cup event in Adelaide. That's sport. I'm Sandy Hodge.
For more news, listen to Newstalk ZB live on iHeartRadio.